Okay, so this is going to be an update video on some of my succulents. So any succulents which aren't here are either because there's nothing to update about them, or because I've quarantined a few of them, and I'll explain more about that later on in the video. But yeah, so I did try a few days ago making a video where I just record my succulents where I normally keep them, which is on the windowsills, but the lighting just wasn't really turning out that well for the video, whether I tried it in the daytime with a daylight or I tried it at night. But anyway, yeah, so let's see, what shall I start off with first? Let's start off with the fulgens, actually. This is like my most favourite succulent right now, and it's actually flowered, as you can see. So some succulents, it's very difficult to get them to flower, and then others just flower really easily. This succulent, I didn't do anything special with it. I mean, when I first bought this, it was a lot smaller, no flowers on it. It was very limp. It just kind of looked a bit generic, but for some reason there was something that appealed to me about it. And I just never expected this to bloom, but it has. And it just looks absolutely awesome. It's kind of got like an alien look to it. So we've got a full bloom here. Yeah, sometimes if I brush it by accident, lots of little bits of orange pollen fall off the flowers. Now, the very interesting thing about this plant is that you'll get like this big bud. You can see it much better there. But the weird thing is that when the big bud opens, it reveals lots of little buds inside, and all of those end up opening into flowers. And it's interesting how it's like kind of a ball shape, all these flowers. You can see they're kind of coming out backwards, if you know what I mean, as well as coming out forwards. And it actually does have a bit of a scent to it. Usually when any of my plants flower, if I smell the flowers, there's no scent at all. But this one, it has like a faint, generic, fragrant kind of smell. It's quite nice, actually. So you can see we've got another bud here, which is starting to open. So you've got to be careful with these plants, because if you handle them, you can see it takes off the waxy coating. I think it's waxy. It's like the plant's own sunscreen. But there you can see all those little round dots in there. Those are all little flower buds, which will open into these flowers, which are inside like this big kind of strange shaped bud. And you can see some of the sunscreen. It's come off there onto my finger. So yeah, just a really cool looking plant, I think. And there's some more buds on it as well. Let's see if I can find them. So we've got one there, very, very small. And then I think we've got another one there as well. So yeah, I'm really pleased with that. There's another variety of fulgens, and it grows red flowers. This is a new plant. Well, not so much for me because I bought it a few months ago, but it's not been in any of my plant videos. So this is called blue chalk sticks. And then the baby Echeveria. It was growing in one of these saucers, but because the leaf completely dried up, I thought I'd plant it in its own pot. And because the pot is a bit too big for it, I filled up most of the pot with just stones, and it's just a thin layer of soil on top. But it's getting bigger now. So this was from a leaf that I just found on a shelf in Tesco, and I just popped it into my shopping bag. So I'm not really sure what kind of Echeveria it is. You can see we've got a little bit of pink there as well. So this crashula, I've got the pot inside another pot because it's if it's just in this pot, it's kind of unstable because it's kind of growing outwards. It tends to want to tip over. So it could do with, so I'll put it in this pot so it just stays stable like that. It could do with being repotted, actually. This, I'm not sure if it would be a good idea now, because I think it's autumn now. It's not hot anymore. It's quite cold. You can see the pot is it's quite small for it. The Tundra Tornado, one of my favourite succulents. I just think it's a really nice looking, unusual looking succulent. When I first got this, it was just green, but because it's had so much sunlight, it's kind of got like parts of it are like burgundy, which I just think looks really nice. And interestingly, the new growth, it's bright green, and I've never seen that on this plant before, so that's kind of odd. And you can see now it's starting to cascade down the pot. So when there's loads of it cascading like down the pot really thick, I think that's going to look really, really good. The baby cacti, I don't know if you can still class them as baby cacti, getting pretty big now. Yep. This is called something like von Nürnberg or something. It's interesting the way it's grown, because like usually when I see these, they're a lot shorter and they're a lot kind of wider, whereas this is grown quite tall and it's kept all of its lower leaves. It's not leggy because you can see all the leaves are very close to each other, even though it's grown quite tall. If it was leggy, there'd been like massive gaps between the leaves, so yeah, it's quite an interesting plant. And this, it's kind of wobbly. I'm guessing I could bury the stem down more so it's more stable, and there are like loads and loads of roots coming out of the stem, but I have been told if I was to bury the stem down more, even though there's loads of roots coming out of it, it will probably get stem rot. So this is the white diamond, and the interesting thing about this plant is that these little rosettes, when it needs water, they kind of close up, and then when it's being watered, like 1 or 2 days after it's being watered, they open up again. And I don't think I've ever mentioned this before, but I actually noticed this on the first day that I got this plant. Basically, there's a freebie in this pot, because we can see there's another succulent growing, which is a different one from this white diamond. I think this is a jelly bean one. And when I first got this white diamond, this jelly bean succulent, it was absolutely tiny, and I'm guessing it just accidentally kind of got into the pot, so it's basically an accidental freebie, so that's quite cool. Interestingly though, when it was really, really tiny, it was kind of multicoloured. It was like green, orange, yellow, and kind of red, but now it's just all green, so that's kind of odd. The cubic frost, it's doing really well now. For a long time, it kind of looked shriveled and stuff. I think it was basically because I was being really, really careful with the watering, because at the time when I got this, I had lost at least a couple of succulents to root rot, stem rot, and one of them was a black prince, and if anything, I was actually underwatering that one. So it's kind of really mysterious how it ended up with stem rot. So I was just really, really cautious with this one for a very long time, and so it just kind of stayed a bit shriveled up. But after a few months I started to water it more. I can't remember what made me think it would be okay to water it more. I'm sure there was a particular reason. But yeah, because of watering it more, it's now not shriveled at all. It's, you know, it's really nice. It's plumped up a lot. The leaves are quite hard. I don't really want to touch them because it would wipe off the sunscreen. But yeah, that's doing really, really well now. And then yeah, the two sources where I'm propagating leaves. So you can see on this one, I've got a leaf from the blue chalk sticks that just fell off, so I thought I'd pop it on here, see if anything grows from it. That was several months ago and nothing has grown from it yet. All these leaves are from the black prince, which unfortunately got stem rot somehow, and you can see there's loads of little babies growing on them. Yeah, for some reason this one it's just never rooted. Don't know why. And then on this one we've got some more black prince leaves, but then we've got other leaves from the small mystery Echeveria, which I used to have, and that mysteriously got stem rot as well, even though I was being really careful with the watering. And you can see this is doing really well. It's looking really nice actually. So these are the quarantined plants, I think maybe everything started with this one. So this is a Gibera, and it produces red flowers. Now, when I got this, I'm not sure if there was actually mould on it or whether mould developed after just a few days. But it was in a much bigger pot. I think the pot was probably too big for it. It was just cram-packed full of like really wet, dense soil, and the soil was kind of overflowing, and you had like wet soil on the leaves and stuff. And you know, I ended up noticing the mould, and I thought, you know something, it's probably best if I change the soil and put it into a smaller pot. To deal with the mould, I used this fungicide called Fungus Clear Ultra. So I've used it a couple of times on the plant. It doesn't have mould anymore, but the leaves, they're kind of left like dirty looking. They've got like this blackness in them. So it looks a lot worse off camera. It's not really showing up that well on camera. But yeah, you can't wipe this blackness off because it's like within the leaves. So the new leaves though, they're looking absolutely fine. So eventually these bigger leaves, they'll kind of die off, they'll go yellow, and I'll just pick them off. So hopefully this will be okay. But unfortunately, it seems that my white flower Gibera, which I've had for many years, well not many years, more like about 3 years, I started noticing a bit of mould on the leaves on this one too, so I'm guessing it caught it from this one. And you can see it's got like a white flower on it. It's strange, this one, because for the first couple of years that I had it, the flowers, they wouldn't be pointing directly upwards towards the sky. They'd be kind of pointing like in that direction or whatever. But now whenever there's a flower, they're pointing directly upwards. I'm not really sure why that is. So it does look really healthy. I have used some fungicide on it to get rid of the mould, the powdery mildew. Now, I'm not sure if either of these have had mealybugs on them, but a couple of months ago I noticed there was a lot of white stuff on this, and I thought it's mould. It's, you know, it's caught it from this plant, but I think it might have been mealybugs or maybe mould and mealybugs. So basically I've used the Fungus Clear on it and the Bug Clear Ultra as well. The Bug Clear Ultra, it seemed to work better. It got rid of the white stuff, so maybe it was mainly mealybugs. I changed the soil on this one as well, just kind of like just washed the roots with water, giving it new soil, and you can see it's been badly affected, this plant, because you can see some of the leaves are just dying on it. They're just kind of shriveling up and going yellow, and they just fall off very easily like that. So I don't know if leaves on this are still dying and turning yellow, or whether all of these leaves that are dying and turning yellow, because of them being affected from when the plant did have all the white stuff on it, maybe now, because there's no white stuff on it now, so maybe now no more leaves will kind of go like this, hopefully. And then this one, the elephant bush. So this is a succulent that I've not shown in the video before. Got it a couple of months ago. It looks really nice. From a distance it kind of looks like a normal plant. You've got this kind of like green and yellow leaves, but when you look more closely you can see it's a succulent because the leaves are very thick and fleshy. So I noticed like kind of fluffy white stuff on this in a couple of places, not that much, and they're actually mealybugs. So I don't know if this has been infected by any of these 3 plants, but it's all my other succulents seem fine, but this one, it did have some mealybugs on it, so I used the Bug Clear Ultra. And I have heard that succulents aren't that good at absorbing insecticide and whatever. So not only have I sprayed the Bug Clear onto the plant, but I've also sprayed it onto the soil, onto the surface of the soil, and then I watered the plant to kind of drive the insecticide down into the soil, and the plant will take it up in its roots, and then that means if there's any mealybugs on the plant, when they suck the sap out of the plant, they'll also be sucking up the insecticide as well, because it will be within the plant and it will kill them. So hopefully this will be okay now as well. But yeah, I guess that's about it. This feels like the biggest plant update I've given so far actually. But yeah, hopefully my plants will be fine. I'm kind of worried about like things from these plants like spreading to my other succulents, but I do have these quarantined. I have the two Jaberas on the windowsill in the kitchen. There's no other plants on there. And then I have these two on the windowsill in the bathroom, and there's no other plants on that either. So yeah, hopefully everything will be fine. Thanks for watching.